Hey everyone, it's Brian here from Massey's Main Entertainment. We managed to get back here this week and jump back into our series of the top 5 albums for every year between 1965 and 1979. We are I almost hit the end here, fellas. We're at 1978 this week. We only got this and one more week to go to finish out this, and then we got some other things in the mix here that we're planning to do. But joined as always, I've got Rich Strickler. How you doing, Rich?
Gentlemen, what's up?
The big winner of $210 by picking the MVP. He's buying drinks for us afterwards, and we're looking really forward to that. Doc's joining us again this evening. Doc's contemplating about how many James Bond movies he's going to put in his top 100 movies of all time. Probably 80.
Some you haven't even heard of. Some you haven't even heard of yet.
We haven't made them yet, but he's going to make them. And we got Randy, who was actually he was lucky the hometown team won for him. And he got a couple free tickets to a Taylor Swift concert or something, right?
Oh, shit. I'll go.
You'll go.
Or sell them. They're worth a lot of money.
So we're about ready to wind this whole series down. We're at 1978 here. Really, this one was a kind of a different year for me, so I approached it a little bit different. A lot of my favorite movies of all time, maybe not super important films necessarily, but movies that I enjoy watching, that I will watch every time that they're on. Either it's the genre or it's the actors or something about it always just kind of pulls me in here. What did you guys think of 1978, Doc?
Oh, me? Yeah. This is the ultimate in the rewatchable year for me, man. This is I had a gamut here. Like top 5 is top 5, and I top, right at the top of the list is something pretty close to my heart and something I think some classics. But outside that, there's a lot of rewatchable. I could have had this list go many different ways, but there's a ton of good flicks here in '78 in my eyes. But definitely rewatchable list, that's for sure.
Excellent. What do you think, Randy?
It had some great serious movies this year, but it also had the great share of like popcorn movies that you just watch to enjoy, which I'm going to have a little of both on my list, I think.
Yeah. And Rich, what do you think?
Same. It's a melting pot. You got your serious films, your fun films, your favorite films. In 1978, I was 21. Cable TV, especially the pay cable, was coming into vogue. So I saw a lot of movies from then on. I used to document every year how many movies I watched and that type of thing. So this is right in my wheelhouse. A great year for film.
I agree 100%. So tonight's order is, Rich, you get to lead us off, and I'm going to follow you up. And then Randy will go third. Doc, you get the cleanup tonight. So we expect you to bring all of the great information. We can just skim over our stuff, relax, take a swig of our beer, let you do all the talking, take us down the home stretch. Be sure to like, sub, and comment down below. If there's one, we get plenty of views, which I really love. And we do have some people who do take time out to comment and recommend movies to us, which I really appreciate. We just don't get enough comments. I think if we're getting 500 views on videos in which we only have 12 comments, and just think of what we could do if we can just get it up to 20, 25 or 30. It could keep us in the algorithm longer, have a little bit more success. Not that I'm not happy. The views are great. But I'd really like to get some extra comments and some likes down below. So please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. So Rich, you get to lead us off. What's your number 5?
Number 5 for me is a remake, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, remake of the 1956 sci-fi classic directed by Don Siegel. This is directed by Philip Kaufman and stars Donald Sutherland, Brooke Adams, Leonard Nimoy, Jeff Goldblum, and others. Set in San Francisco, and very suspenseful. To me, it's a quality sci-fi film. I don't really need a lot of the histrionics and stuff like that. This is sort of a thinking person. You don't know what's coming around the corner, and it's very creepy but effective. It's got that nightmarish atmosphere. These mysterious pods appear, and there's replicants. They're taking over human bodies. I'm not exactly sure why, and you don't really need to know, but because there's a paranoid sense of who's the next one to go. One of your friends maybe diming you out, this and that and the other thing, and you'll never see a person do that again and feel the same. There's a lot of good stuff here. I love Donald Sutherland in this era. underrated actor, and Goldblum, of course, is one of our favorites.
Right.
So I'm going to put this at number 5. I had to sneak it on the list somewhere. It's that good.
Wow. That's a great choice.
Totally.
Big fan. We'll get to that later. All right. So for me, really, I think it's probably best. I mean, I'll start mine off and you'll kind of know where I'm kind of headed here. I think this is this beautiful piece of art when it says, I gave my love a cherry that had no stone. I gave my love a chicken that had no bone. So I picked Animal House here for my number 5 from '78, directed by John Landis. Set at Faber College. I'm not even sure if it's fictional. It's got to be fictional.
Yeah, fictional.
During the '60s, and it's the misadventures of the Delta House, led by the rebellious Bluto Blutarski, John Belushi, and it kind of has this fraternity, engaging in chaotic and humorous antics, of course, and clashing with the strict administration of the college. The film satirizes that college life, societal norms, authority figures, obviously, and it really was a cultural phenomenon, and it was going to influence how college comedy genres in general were going to be filmed and made, like, going forward. So I think it's an important comedy. Maybe one of the best of the '70s altogether. Animal House, number 5 for me.
Awesome.
Very good.
Great pick.
Randy.
Well, I'm going to have the same as Rich. I got Invasion of the Body Snatchers here. I really like the original, which I thought was fantastic, but I think this one is just as good. It has everything. It has conspiracy, paranoia, horror, mystery, neo-noir. Even has a great cameo by Kevin McCarthy, who was in the original.
That's right.
Right.
Donald Sutherland, Brooke Adams are great. And it's but you really start to feel the fear they have of being in this impossible situation where, like, they're about the only ones. And it's got the classic ending with the certain sound.
Yeah.
A fantastic movie.
That's right. Doc, what do you think, buddy?
Well, I got to agree with Randy and Rich here, man. I got Invasion at number 5 for me, man.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to be honest with everybody here, I like the original a little bit more myself, but this is a classic remake.
Hot
too.
take.
Yeah, it might be, but I think Kevin McCarthy is fantastic in that first one, man. It's just over the top, awesome. But this is a great remake, and it's everything you guys touched on and stuff. But you've never seen Leonard Nimoy so cold and in this movie either.
Wow.
It's
like a Vulcan too.
Yeah, I know. This is even more sterile than that. Go figure, right? It's just
That's
like
crazy.
Right at you. He's a doctor, but doesn't look like he's trying to take care of you at certain times. I'll tell you that. But the scenes are tense, and it's everything the guys touched on. There's a lot of build up to a plot that's happening literally in front of your eyes. It's unfolding as it happens, and some classic scenes. But the scenes are tense. You think about the mud bath or anything like that.
Yeah.
They're all
Right.
It's really well done. Yeah, like I said, there's a whole bunch of rewatchables in '78, man, and I'm putting this one in my top 5.
Perfect. All right. That's great. That's a great round right there.
Yeah.
Great round.
Rich, how about number 4? What are we going to do there?
Number 4 is another movie we already talked about, and that is Animal House. I put it at 4. I had to include it. To me, it's still to this day, 46 years later, funniest movie I've ever seen in the theater. I had to go back a second time. Just riotous laughter. I know it's frat house humor, it's sophomoric humor. It doesn't matter. At that time, it was a one of a kind. I had never seen anything like it on the screen as far as laugh out loud, politically incorrect, immature, vulgar, but it's funny nonetheless. And that's why you're going to have a few laughs. Belushi might be his most iconic role, definitely on film. If you take the Saturday Night Live stuff out, I mean, that's what he's known for, is Bluto Blutarski. And I like Tim Matheson in here as the straight man. Karen Allen, Donald Sutherland again appears in this as a small role, directed by John Landis. All the hijinks that go on. There's too many scenes to name, but the toga party stands out. Everything you can think of in here is done just to poke fun at the audience and stuff. And it literally is wall-to-wall laughter. all the way through, every scene. So that's my number 4, Animal House, National Lampoon's Animal House.
Yeah. By the way, the guy who sung those lyrics I had before was Stephen Bishop. So
Stephen Bishop. Yep.
That's right.
Ultimate singer-songwriter that got his guitar busted up. So
Supposedly, he still has that guitar that he's got in his garage or something up on the wall or something like that.
that's fantastic. Cool. Awesome. My number 4 is kind of it's definitely a specific genre piece, and it's very important for that genre. Particularly, I would think people in this era would appreciate it, and it's because it's a superhero genre. I've got Superman the movie here, directed by Richard Donner, who seemed to get kind of a short end as we learned more about how Superman 2 played out. But it introduces Christopher Reeve, who is to this day the most iconic Superman / Clark Kent that there is. The movie chronicles his journey from the planet Krypton, his arrival on Earth, and turning into the Caped Hero. Gene Hackman, just iconic as Lex Luthor, maybe a lot of people's favorite Lex Luthor of all time. John Williams, again, an iconic score from him. It's just a seminal superhero movie that I think everybody should see, especially if you're one of these people who have been obsessed with the MCU over the last 16 years or so. I think it's an important movie for everyone to watch. So Superman the movie right here.
All right.
Landmark.
Like that one, Brian.
Thank you. Randy.
Well, my number 4, even though it deals with the hardships of the migrants and later the kind of turbulent passions of 3 individuals, it's one of the most beautifully photographed films I've ever seen, and that's Days of Heaven, Terrence Malick. And he was so exhausted, I guess, after completing this film that he didn't make another film for another 20 years. But it's got some unbelievable performances by Sam Shepard, Richard Gere, and Brooke Adams. Again, another movie here.
Yep.
And what is especially effective is the narration by Linda Manns, who plays Gere's kid sister. She's really great in this. And it's got so many remembered images, like the house up with the wheat fields all around, the wheat fields catching on fire. And it's also got this great score by Ennio Morricone. It's just a beautiful film to watch.
Nice.
Agreed.
Excellent.
Nothing wrong with that, buddy.
Doc, what do you think?
Well, I got to go back to somebody who's on double secret probation, man. And I got to go with Animal House, man. That's my number 4. So, the crazy antics of the fraternity life in the 60s or the 70s. It's everything that you want from a comedy. It's Rich, this is really high on my list of comedies of all time too, man. This is every scene's hilarious. It's one of the more quotable comedies of all time in my eyes. And it's just so there's no holds barred in this movie in a lot of stuff.
No.
It doesn't matter, they take their fraternity member who wants to be Flanders Brothers' car, do it all up, just to go on the floats and Wormer and his wife. There's so many great scenes in this movie. Animals is a classic comedy, man, and it's coming out in 78. So placement might be one thing, but it's a top 5 or a 78 in my eyes, man. It's classic comedy.
Excellent pick.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Number 3.
Now, my number 3 is Randy's number 4, and that's Days of Heaven. Couldn't agree more. It's definitely one of the prettiest movies you'll ever see. It's poetry on the screen. And that voiceover by Linda Manns seals the deal. That makes the film for me. You got all these beautiful images. You got the heroine, that little kid kind of streetwise voice, and somehow it works. The cinematography, the score, there's like a dreamlike surrealism to what's going on here, but it pulls you in. Just a haunting, beautiful film. The landscapes are unforgettable. The storyline is sort of secondary to me. After the technical aspects of the film, I just think it's a beautiful film to watch and take in. So Terrence Malick, and he picks some few and far between, but he does a great job when he makes a film. So that's my number 3.
Very good. See there, that's appeared twice.
Yep.
My number 3 is going to be another one that is genre specific. but probably a seminal horror film. I got John Carpenter's Halloween here, following the relentless killer Michael Myers, who escapes a mental institution, returning home to terrorize babysitter Laurie Strode, played by Scream Queen herself, Jamie Lee Curtis. Michael Myers has been kind of portrayed as more of a force of nature in subsequent films where they've kind of gone through backstories to try to explain him. It has been remade by Rob Zombie in recent years, which I actually thought he did a very good job. The iconic Michael Myers mask, of course, is just a distorted Captain James T. Kirk mask. That's always a kind of interesting thing. Just really known for its suspenseful atmosphere, the haunting score, that wonderful piano. Every time something's getting ready to happen, I think that's great stuff. I like the way that it's shot sometimes through the eyes of Michael himself, through the mask.
Yeah.
As he approaches people and stuff like that. Really, overall, it's mostly built up suspense, very minimalistic. There's not like a whole lot of blood just flying around and horrific, killing scenes and things like that. The suspense is built very nicely in there. And this would be, of course, like I said before, a seminal film in the slasher genre for horror. So, number 3, Halloween.
Right.
Great.
Well, my number 3 deals with 7 years of college down the drain. It's John Landis, Animal House. It's the movie I've seen the most at the theater, because every time a friend of mine I found out hadn't seen it, you got to go see it. And it's, like I said, it's one of the funniest movies ever, and we see John Belushi unleashed in this movie. It's a tragedy we lost him so soon. It's full of quotable dialogue. Many of the actors were in their first or second film. It's the ultimate college movie, and I'm sure that frat parties were never the same after this movie. And in fact, when I was in college, we had it wasn't exactly what they called frats at this college, but they called them houses. Mm-hmm. And we ended up on double secret probation because it was disbanded. The house that I belong to is disbanded now. And I do remember being up there one day and someone yelling "food fight," and it was disaster for the kitchen staff there in the cafeteria. But it's
nice.
Just classic comedy.
Good. Doc, what do you got?
Daniel Simpson Day has no grade point average, right? So that's all course is incomplete. So my number 3, Brian, I'm so happy, buddy. I'm kind of proud of you, buddy. Yeah, I got Halloween here, man.
Nice.
I got a couple that are interchangeable, so we can talk about that maybe as we go. But I got Halloween here. I think it's a classic horror flick, and a couple of things that you touched on. It's not a killer slasher flick where there's 20 kills and stuff like this. There's like 5 or 6 murders in this, but it's revenge. It is a suspenseful movie, and it goes like that. And then the way Carpenter did this with the way that he shot it, it's all suspense, man. It's Jamie Lee Curtis is Carrie Laurie just getting trampled around, thinks she sees things, doesn't see things. Her friends, the whole angst of what it is at that time. They're almost the characters are almost naive enough to be not scared of, not know what's going on and stuff like that, except for hers in a lot of senses, right? So it's really well done. It's a great horror flick, man. This is probably my second favorite horror movie of all time, to be honest with you. So
nice.
I love this movie. Could have been higher. some years it's my number 1, but I got to be honest on how this list goes. But we'll see how that top 100 turns out later on in life too. So,
that's right.
I got Halloween here, man. There's no getting around that. This is one of my favorites.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, all the way up to number 2.
Number 2, I'm going to continue my Hal Ashby Love Fest here. Coming Home is my number 2, starring really 3 great performances by John Voight, Jane Fonda, and Bruce Dern. Amazing 60s soundtrack, some deep cuts in this as well. Basically, it's the after effect and the physical and mental toll that the Vietnam War has had on this town here, the PTSD. You got Voight as a a soldier who was wounded, paralyzed in the war. He's in the hospital, and Jane Fonda is a volunteer working there, and they meet and they have a connection. In the meantime, Bruce Dern is Jane Fonda's husband. He's over there. He's an officer or something. He eventually comes home, and he's damaged goods. He's mentally juiced. He's worn out from the war. Very emotional, sensitive kind of film. If you like drama and character studies, this is the one. It talks about the people who fought in the war, the people that married into it, friends, family, all the effect, the trickle-down effect that this stuff had on families in the United States. Even though, you can argue we shouldn't have been there, this and that, but we were, and the results are the results. I think it's a beautiful film, sensitive, thought-provoking. The hospital scenes in the military hospital really got to me because they were authentic. I've been in my share of hospitals, and I recognize so much stuff that went on there, and it's just a personal film for me. I love it, even though it's more of a downer. It's not one you're going to recommend. Go see Coming Home, this and that. But if you experience some things in life, this hits home. Number 2 for me, Coming Home.
Good. I was wondering if it was going to be on the list for you. So,
Oh yeah,
yeah. My number 2, you guys all mentioned at number 5. So, you guys saved me a whole lot of talking. I've got Invasion of the Body Snatchers here, directed by Philip Kaufman, like you guys said. Donald Sutherland's character as the health inspector. I really like particularly that one scene where he's pointing out that there's rat turds in this restaurant, and the guys keep arguing with him about whether or not it's a caper or a kuiper or whatever. And he eventually said, "Well, if it's a kuiper, eat it." And the guy wouldn't put it in his mouth. So I was like, "Yeah, all right." But I thought it was kind of interesting. But it's about him and his colleagues as they slowly discover these mysterious alien pods are replacing humans with emotionless duplicates. What I like about it is that it's not like you're to be a victim and to get taken over, basically not become yourself anymore. It's not like you're making mistakes. It's because you have to avoid doing something that occurs naturally, which is to go to sleep.
Right.
That's what makes it even more suspenseful, I think, in a lot of ways, as you're fighting yourself to stay alive, and avoiding, a simulation in some way. It's got great themes of conformity and paranoia and loss of individuality. It's praised also for the great atmosphere and social commentary. Thought-provoking film, just like the 1956 version. So I have it much higher here because I just really enjoy the film. So number 2, Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Now, we all had that. We all had that in Animal House, right?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, way off.
Yeah.
Who's up?
My number 2 is one of the biggest influences on the horror genre from the 70s. I've got Halloween, John Carpenter here.
Awesome, buddy.
Ooh.
Fortunately, many of the films that came after it in these so-called slasher genre were inept imitations of the movie. And the John Carpenter score, like you said, is along with Psycho and Jaws, it has one of the most musical sections that something is about to happen. It's just the best on that. And it also provided one of the most fear-inducing characters with Michael Myers, kind of evil incarnate. Like you said, Jamie Lee Curtis is great in this, and we seem to experience the horror right along with her. I think it's one of the best horror movies too.
Yeah, right on.
I agree.
Yep.
Excellent. Doc.
I got to go to one you touched on earlier, Brian. So I got Superman at number 2, man, for me. This is my favorite. I'll take superheroes and stuff like that as the side here, but you want a fantasy adventure, humorous, well written, well acted, morphed into, shall we say, a comic book hero movie. This is what you get.
Yeah.
And I love everything about this movie. I've loved it since I first saw it when I was a kid. And this is my favorite superhero movie. The script is fantastic. I just love the humor behind it. Mario Puzo wrote this. Richard Donner directed this. Mario Puzo wrote The Godfather, man. This is some of the best tongue-in-cheek lines delivered by Lex Luthor here with Gene Hackman. playing it to a T. You couldn't ask for it any better. You know, Spacey gave it a good run when he had a chance, but nothing like this, man. This is my favorite fantasy adventure movie, man. I have a tough time because I got my number 2 horror movie there, but there's just a movie that's just a little bit better overall as far as movies go. But once again, this will come down to the 100 list later on in life if we get to that point. So.
Perfect. We're already at number 1, guys. We're rolling.
Number 1, drum roll. Well, I this was easy for me. I had to go with The Deer Hunter as my number 1. This is one of the most emotionally impactful experiences I've had on watching on a big screen when it came out. Wasn't ready for it, but it's hard hitting. It's an epic. The working class soldiers that went over there and fought in Vietnam. You see them in the factory in the beginning working, you know, overnight and whatever. Then they go right to the bar. You see that whole scene where they're shooting pool and kibitzing around with each other. You know, typical friends of that age. You know, and then they're getting ready for this wedding, which lasts a half an hour. Beautifully done, I might add. But maybe it's self-indulgent, maybe it's not. But if you want to get the whole gist of the story and the people that are, you know, that you care about, what's going to happen to them. This tackles the beginning, during, and after the effects of the war. They take you there right after the wedding. They go deer hunting, title film. That's a whole little interesting fiasco that happens with, you know, got certain guys are prepared to hunt. They don't bring their boots, this and that. One shot, there's that whole one shot. One guy takes it serious, Robert De Niro, and the other guys are clowns. They're just out for the camaraderie and a good time. And then all of a sudden the seriousness takes you to Vietnam, where there are prisoners of war and all kinds of hellacious shit happens over there. So many memorable scenes. Like I said, the deer hunting scene's great. The homecoming scene, the wedding scene, the Russian roulette scene, which is legendary, and then going back and maybe saving your friends at the end or trying to. There's so much in this 3-hour movie. Michael Cimino, the director, who really never topped himself with this. Christopher Walken in an Academy Award-winning supporting performance is great. Meryl Streep, an early role. John Cazale, one of our favorite guys, and John Savage round out the cast. So easy number 1 for me, The Deer Hunter.
Yeah, I can't argue with that at all. I immediately wrote it down as number 1. Just an epic drama, you know, delving into the profound effect of the war on a group of working class citizens from a small town in Pennsylvania. Robert De Niro's character is great. John Savage, Christopher Walken, just all really, really, really strong performances by all of them. It won Best Picture and Best Director that year, right, Rich? I mean, yeah, obviously. Just unflinching in its portrayal of war. That whole Russian roulette scene is just right on the edge of your seat type of stuff. And just the change in De Niro's character from being the serious guy who did go out hunting at the beginning of the film, who just didn't even have taste for killing anymore. When he came back and tried to go hunting again, he just couldn't pull the trigger. Just how much it affected his character. It's just a great, powerful film that it's not like I want to go spin it all the time or watch it all the time, but certainly if I have an opportunity and the mood strikes me, I like to go see this movie again. It's really good. So Deer Hunter's number 1.
Yep.
Right. I should probably all wondering if I'm going to pick that movie too, and I did.
No.
Wow.
It's amazing. It's got all these brilliant moments and these hard to watch moments as well. Great characterizations by the ensemble cast. How Vietnam affects those that are in the war and those that are when they come home and how they react to it. I call it kind of a more violent and sorrowful update of the best years of our lives.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
But and I saw it at the theater originally, and it had quite an impact on me. So much so that I never watched it again until just watched it here. And it's an amazing movie, but it's probably one that I will not watch again. But I think everybody should see it at least once.
I agree.
Yeah,
everybody should see it. Young people, you don't want to go back and watch stuff before your time. This is one you should seek out. It's really a really strong film.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What say you, Doc?
Let's make it forward to road, boys. That's the way it goes. So yeah, it's The Deer Hunter. That's there's no getting around that. That's the best movie of the year. It's everything you guys touched on. You know, from the way I go back to what you said, Rich. You know, it's shot really well, and it doesn't get enough credit for the way it actually looks. That movie. You're in the bar with the boys. You feel it like you're one of the guys almost watching at some of those scenes at certain points. And Savage and Walken and Cazale and De Niro, man, they're awesome together, man. They really are. Walken won the award. You can see how like a De Niro won something like this that year too, man. He's awesome in that movie. And taking away from anybody else, but the driving forces in those movies, those two guys, really in a lot of senses. So,
yeah.
Especially the way the movie's shot with the two almost sides of what happens from the steel workers in Pennsylvania and Pittsburgh there to the Vietnam, and then the post-traumatic and how it affects their lives afterwards. It's incredibly epic. I can see how Randy would say, don't watch it. You know, it's at least a one watch, at least, maybe more, but it's filmmaking at its best in 78. So this is number one, man.
Yeah,
Cool.
Totally agree. We agreed on that one, and Animal House and Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So we had 3 matches. Only 7 total movies between all of us were mentioned. That's how strong the movies were that we were talking about. To give you some type of indication there. I only had Coming Home, and you guys had Days of Heaven. I mean, I that I didn't have. So, what other honorable mentions did you have, Rich?
Well, I had Heaven Can Wait. That was a tough cut for me. Really well done, comedy, afterlife kind of thing. Midnight Express is a well-made movie by Alan Parker. Superman and Halloween, of course, are on my backup list. The Buddy Holly story, another really good biopic. It was excellent with Gary Busey. And I have, just sentimental. I have The Last Waltz, the documentary. I don't want to include documentaries this time, but The Band, directed by Martin Scorsese. Those are some of the ones I looked at but didn't ultimately take.
What about you, Randy?
Oh, I guess Coming Home was probably my last cut. And then Superman. I like 2 Michael Crichton films that came out that year. The Great Train Robbery and Coma, I thought were really good.
Oh.
And Heaven Can Wait. And from your favorite actor, Richard Dreyfuss, I like The Big Fix, where he plays Moses Wine, the detective.
Can't escape him, no matter where I go.
He was good in it. I have to give you that.
Doc, did you have something extra? Or?
Oh, sure I did, man. Heaven Can Wait, for sure. The Great Train Robbery, yes. Coma, I love it. Capricorn one, I love. Boys from Brazil, it's a fantastic movie as well. Midnight Express, you touched on that as well. The Wild Geese is a great one I love that movie. It's so campy and fun too in a lot of senses, but pretty vicious too. But Force 10 from Nowhere's out this year. I love Death on the Nile, if you want the truth. And it's like that kind of mystery kind of stuff too. Dawn of the Dead is a great sequel to Night Of. So I think there's a lot. And even Grease came out that year, man. It's not like you'd watch it, right? So, or you did when you were younger, maybe not now, but lots of great flicks, man. Especially Capricorn one I like too.
Well, excellent. Well, that's what we got. 1978, pretty strong year overall. A lot of really solid films that we can go back and revisit for sure. Be sure to like, sub, and comment down below. We only got one more year to go after this, fellas, so it's kind of psych us up a little bit for that. Looking forward to doing 1979 next week, and then on to our next couple projects that we've been talking about. So it's going to be really great. So thank you, Doc, for joining us.
Most definitely.
Thank you, Randy, and thanks, Rich. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll catch everybody next week. Take care now. Bye-bye.
See you guys.